The day my wife told me to leave, she smiled like she had already won. "Take your belongings and get out," Melissa said as she stood in the middle of our living room. Beside her was Ryan, the man she had been secretly seeing for months. I looked around the beautiful house we had shared for 10 years. The expensive furniture, the artwork on the walls, the giant television, and even the luxury car parked outside had all become symbols of a life I thought was built on love. But I had been wrong. Melissa crossed her arms. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. The divorce papers are ready. Take your clothes and whatever belongs to you." Ryan laughed. "Looks like you're starting over, buddy." Their confidence almost made me smile. You see, Melissa thought everything in that house belonged to her because her name was on the marriage certificate. What she didn't know was that every single item in that home had been purchased through a company I secretly owned. Years earlier, before I met her, I had built a successful home furnishing business. My lawyer advised me to keep ownership private through a holding company. Very few people knew I was the owner. Melissa certainly didn't. After discovering her affair, I spent weeks quietly collecting evidence. Screenshots, messages, hotel receipts, everything. I wasn't planning revenge. At least, not at first. I simply wanted the truth. As I packed a small suitcase, Melissa followed me. "Don't forget your old watch," she mocked. "It's probably the only valuable thing you own." I looked at her and nodded. "If that's what you think." She smirked. "Good luck finding somewhere to live." Ryan wrapped an arm around her shoulder. "Yeah, good luck." I walked out without arguing, without shouting, without defending myself, because neither of them knew something important. The next morning, a legal notice would arrive at the house. And when Melissa opened it, she would discover that the couch she was sitting on, the bed she slept in, the car in the driveway, and almost everything inside that house legally belonged to me. And that was only the beginning. When Melissa received the legal notice, her laughter disappeared instantly, but the shocking truth hidden inside was about to destroy her entire world. The next morning, Melissa called me 23 times. I didn't answer. Then the text messages started. "What is this? This has to be a joke. Call me now." I finally picked up on the 24th call. "Why are movers in my driveway?" she screamed. I calmly sipped my coffee. "Because they're picking up company property." "What company property?" "Almost everything." Silence. Then panic. The legal notice explained that the furniture, electronics, artwork, appliances, and even the luxury car were owned by my company under long-term asset agreements. Since I was the sole owner of that company, I had every legal right to reclaim them. Melissa had never bothered asking where our wealth came from. She simply enjoyed spending it. By noon, professional movers began removing items room by room. The giant television vanished. The designer couches disappeared. The dining table was gone. Even the mattress was loaded into a truck. Ryan arrived and immediately started yelling, "You can't do this." The company lawyer standing nearby handed him another document. "Actually, I could." And I was. Melissa watched helplessly as the home she loved slowly emptied. The funniest part? The house itself wasn't hers either. Several years earlier, I had purchased it through another company and leased it to us. She never read the paperwork. She just signed wherever I told her. That afternoon, she called again. This time her voice sounded different. No anger. Just fear. "Please tell me you're not taking the house." I sighed. "You told me to take my belongings." "James. You made your choice." Tears filled her voice. "It was a mistake." "No," I replied. "The affair was a choice. Lying was a choice. Humiliating me was a choice." For the first time, she had nothing to say. Days later, Ryan disappeared completely. Apparently, he wasn't interested in staying with a woman whose luxury lifestyle was vanishing. Melissa lost her lover, her reputation, and nearly everything she thought she owned. But she still didn't know the biggest secret. The hidden fortune she believed was gone forever had never even been touched. And soon she would learn exactly how wealthy I really was. Just when Melissa thought she had lost everything, she discovered a secret bank account worth hundreds of millions, and she believed she was entitled to every dollar. A week later, Melissa requested a meeting. Against my lawyer's advice, I agreed. We met at a small coffee shop. She looked exhausted. Gone were the designer clothes and expensive jewelry. For the first time in years, she looked like someone facing reality. I didn't know, she whispered. You didn't know what? How much you sacrificed for us. I stayed silent. Melissa lowered her eyes. When we met, I thought you were just an average guy. I was. You never acted rich. That was true. While my companies expanded across the country, I continued living simply. Money had never impressed me. Character did. Unfortunately, Melissa failed that test. She slid a folder across the table. Inside were divorce settlement papers. She wasn't asking for millions anymore. She wasn't fighting. She simply wanted closure. I know Ryan used me, she said quietly. The moment the money disappeared, he left. I nodded. That's usually how people like him work. Tears formed in her eyes. I destroyed my marriage. Yes. No argument. No excuses. Just the truth. A month later, the divorce became final. I kept my companies, my investments, my properties, and the fortune I had spent years building. Melissa walked away with very little. But surprisingly, this story isn't real.